but I didn't. I just observed them alighting the plane from the CCTV cameras. I watched my mom, dad, and sister have their passports confiscated the moment they set foot on North Korean soil.
Wait, Eric said he'd meet us here. Where is he?
They took our passports. Why are they looking at us like that?
Follow me now.
Wait, there must be a mistake. We're tourists.
I called the officer and had him put the phone on loudspeaker. The funny thing about North Korea, once you're in, you don't just walk out. Enjoy your new home, family. My family was accused of being Western spies and was put to work in labor camps, harvesting crops, carrying heavy loads like donkeys, and surviving on a basic meal of rice and kimchi. Food scarcity in North Korea is extreme, so I imagine Claire resorted to eating rats just to stay alive. They were treated as slaves, given nothing for their work except meager portions of food and a roof over their heads. My name is Eric, and I've lived a real rags to riches story. And it's less about money and more above love. See, life was never easy for me. While other kids grew up with loving families, mine saw me as nothing more than free labor. From the moment I was old enough to lift a broom, I was given chores that never ended.
I asked you to clean that up 5 minutes ago. What is taking you so long?
I'm sorry, Mom. I was putting the washing away, like you asked.
I don't remember giving you permission to talk back. Your sister doesn't give me this much trouble. She's an angel.
Claire, my older sister, was the golden child. No matter what she did, she was praised. The complete opposite of me. No matter what I did, I was punished. The unfair workload increased as I got older.
We're working to put food on the table for you, and you're here lounging around.
I thought for a moment that my dad was talking to my sister. She was on the sofa, chewing gum and flipping through her phone. I was on my hands and knees, scrubbing a juice stain out of the carpet. Yet, a shadow passed over me, and I looked up. I saw my dad glaring down at me.
I'm not lounging, Dad. Don't talk back to me. I'm telling you to go out and get a job, not give me attitude.
Sorry, Dad. I'll go get a job. So I got my first job as a busboy in a nearby restaurant at 12. When I was 13, my dad complained again.
You're costing us too much money. You can either get another job or you can get out.
I looked over at my sister, who was drinking soda from a luxury brand tumbler, and my mom, who was playing a game on her $1,000 phone. I looked down at the rags I was made to wear. Okay, Dad, I'll get another job. So at 13, I started working at a different restaurant as a chef. It was an up-and-coming place, with only a handful of staff, and all of them were willing to look away from the child labor. But they made up for it in head pats and secret gifts.
You're a hard worker, kid. Here, my son grew out of these jeans last year, and you look the right size. Don't worry, they're barely worn. And look, a designer brand.
They gave me a phone, new clothes, a laptop, headphones, gift cards. After a while, I realized it wasn't guilt over allowing a kid to work at the restaurant, but rather an attempt to make me happy.
You're always so busy, you never get to enjoy anything. So we wanted to help. Let me teach you how to saute onions perfectly.
Life at home was still hard, and my job as a busboy took all my remaining energy. But at the restaurant, I felt like I was part of a family. One day, I came home to an empty bedroom. Mom, where's all my stuff?
We sold it. I can't believe you were being so selfish.
You sold it? You have no right. I work 2 jobs, pay your bills, and make sure there is food on the table, which I buy and cook, while you waste everything away on luxuries and things for yourself.
Go to your room, you brat.
She always would forget that if I were sent to my room, I couldn't work. So within half an hour, I was back in the kitchen, scrubbing the floor with a toothbrush.
Why are you so slow? Do you think I have all day to wait for you to finish? Clean it properly.
Yes, Mom.
I don't know why we even had you. At least your sister doesn't make my life harder.
Yeah, loser. Maybe if you weren't so useless, Mom wouldn't have to yell at you all the time.
Boy, make yourself useful and bring me another beer.
Taking even a second away from a task was a risk. I looked at the unfinished floors, shoulders hunching in indecision. Now, there was no such thing as rest. I would wake up at dawn to make breakfast while my parents and sister slept in. If the food was even slightly overcooked, I wouldn't eat that day. My paycheck? Never saw a cent. My mother controlled every dime, and my father made sure I knew my place. One day, after back-to-back 8-hour shifts, I dragged myself home, ready to collapse. I handed over my wage envelope to my parents as usual, but my sister snatched it before I had the chance.
Good. This should be enough to pay for my new phone case.
That's for the electricity bill. It didn't matter though, because within a minute, she was out of the door with my hard-earned money. Dad came in the room just after she left and held out his hand.
Give me the money then.
Claire took it. My dad smacked my head.
How are we supposed to pay the bills, you idiot boy? No food for a week.
But it was Claire. She took the money.
You ungrateful brat. After all we do for you, you can't even buy your sister something small?
All you do for me? I pay for everything. I work 2 jobs, I cook, I clean. Once again, my dad hit me.
Watch your mouth, boy. You don't speak to your mother like that. Maybe you need to learn some respect.
Respect? That was a joke. No matter how much I did, it was never enough. They treated me like a slave, a servant in my own home. And if I ever dared to speak up, well, let's just say I learned to keep my mouth shut. A few months later, we were sitting at the dinner table and my sister decided to taunt me. While they enjoyed their feast, I was allowed only plain rice.
You can eat more when you earn more. Right now, this is what you deserve.
This steak is so good. Oh wait, you wouldn't know.
I kept telling myself it would get better, that one day I'd escape. But I never expected the betrayal that came next. Considering everything I did for the family, it didn't even make sense. I was invited on a business trip with the restaurant. This business trip was all paid for, and I would be paid a regular hourly wage for every moment I was out of the house. My parents didn't want me to go, but my boss spoke to them.
It's a good opportunity to Eric. You wouldn't want him to miss out on something so important, would you?
They eventually agreed, especially after they heard how much I would get paid. What was the best week of my whole childhood ended in gut-wrenching misery. When I returned home, everything was gone. The house was empty. All the belongings I'd left behind were nowhere to be found, and neither were my family. I heard from a neighbor that they'd won the lottery and decided to leave their leech son behind. I was left with nothing. But instead of breaking down, I decided to keep going on the road I was on. The money I earned between my 2 jobs went further, now that I only had myself to support. I actually dropped a few hours as a busboy to focus on school. When I graduated, the restaurant was flourishing, and they paid for me to go to the local culinary college. By the time I had left, I was a famous chef. We were booked 2 years in advance. As a team, we were the richest people in the city. My boss was more like a dad than my actual dad, and the manager was like my mom. The rest were my big sisters and brothers. We were a family, and no matter how hard we had to work, we were always happy. We started to get celebrity clientele, and that's when the TV show hosts started clamoring for interviews.
Eric, your story is incredible. From rock bottom to multi-millionaire, what kept you going?
Pain is a great motivator. When you've lost everything, you realize the only way is up. When I realized my family were gone, having left me behind with nothing, I knew I had to work to keep myself above water. Fortunately, it was the family of sweat, not blood, that kept me afloat. I'm forever grateful to the people that took me in and taught me everything I know. The audience claps. Success tasted sweet, and I made sure to enjoy every moment of it. I wanted to ensure that my blood family never had the opportunity to take credit for what I had managed to achieve. To celebrate, I took myself to a restaurant that I knew my family had favored, but had refused to take me to.
Mr. Eric, your Wagyu steak.
You know, years ago, I was told I wasn't worthy of food like this. Funny how things change. Years passed, and I became wealthier than I ever imagined. I had power now. But my family? They had nothing. They'd never learned to budget because they'd always had a steady income from me. Soon, their lottery winnings were gone. My mother called me crying.
Eric, please, we need you. We made mistakes, but we're still your family. We're drowning in debt, and we have nowhere else to go. Family means everything. You should be putting us first.
You had somewhere to go when you stole everything from me, didn't you? Tell me, Mother, where did you run off to after you ruined my life?
Son, we weren't thinking straight. We thought we were doing what was best for the family.
The family? You mean yourselves. But don't worry, I'm not like you. I won't turn my back on family. Come home. I'll take care of everything. The next week, my family were on the doorstep of my mansion, wearing ragged clothes and looking sad. I know you've had it rough, so I planned a little getaway for us. A family vacation. A fresh start. I handed them their tickets and suitcases.
Oh my god, first-class tickets, you really are doing well, Eric Nee.
Only the best for my family. I promised them I'd meet them at the airport, but I didn't. I just observed them alighting the plane from the CCTV cameras. I watched my mom, dad, and sister have their passports confiscated the moment they set foot on North Korean soil.
Wait, Eric said he'd meet us here. Where is he?
They took our passports. Why are they looking at us like that?
Follow me now.
Wait, there must be a mistake. We're tourists.
I called the officer and had him put the phone on loudspeaker. The funny thing about North Korea, once you're in, you don't just walk out. Enjoy your new home, family. My family was accused of being Western spies and was put to work in labor camps, harvesting crops, carrying heavy loads like donkeys, and surviving on a basic meal of rice and kimchi. Food scarcity in North Korea is extreme, so I imagine Claire resorted to eating rats just to stay alive. They were treated as slaves, given nothing for their work except meager portions of food and a roof over their heads. Later, we heard through news agencies in South Korea that Claire attempted to escape. She was caught and sentenced to a firing squad. As for my parents, they were eventually forced to work in state propaganda films, where they had to pretend to be happy, knowing the whole world was watching, yet being completely unable to escape. I never looked back. They deserved every second of their suffering. And me? I finally had peace, knowing they were paying for every ounce of pain they had put me through. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.
Sydney, what in the world do you think you're doing, taking precious time off of work? I needed you to be in the office today.
At first I tried to ignore him, but as he got closer to us, the louder he became. I had never been so embarrassed in my life. He's starting to foam with spit. He was yelling so hard, some of my younger cousins started recording him with their phones. He didn't care. Mr. Jacobs, I had gotten today off approved by HR months ago. This is my mother's funeral. We're burying her right now.
That isn't any excuse for you not to be at work. They don't need you to be here to put your mother in the ground. Clearly, this is just some lame excuse for you to play hooky from work. I've been trying to contact you all day. The owner of the company emailed me, and I need you to write back a response because you know I don't know how to work these stupid computers.
But Mr. Jacobs, that's really not my job.
Not your job, huh? Well, how about this? You have no job at all now. You're fired. Don't bother coming back to work.
Right after college, it was hard for me to find a job. I applied to so many places, but the only place that would hire me was a construction company. They hired me as the CEO's executive assistant. It was a pretty nice job for the first couple of weeks, while the boss was on vacation. Everyone was so friendly, but they kept warning me about how much the office would change when he got back. After about 2 weeks, he came back, and I realized how right they were. Mr. Jacobs was hated by everyone in the office. Not only did he talk down to everyone, but he had crazy mood swings. He was a total diva and completely unpredictable. No one could tell what would be the next thing that would set him off. It made everyone in the office walk on eggshells around him. He was completely mentally unstable. He was known for screaming at people with his face totally red, his spit flying everywhere as he yelled and throwing things at people. I was terrified of him. One of my coworkers told me why the person who had my job before me was fired. Mr. Jacobs keeps a mini fridge in his office to store snacks for himself throughout the day. She stocked his fridge with orange juice instead of apple juice, and he completely lost it. He screamed at her so much that he made her cry, and he fired her on the spot, claiming that she was mentally unfit for the stressful life of the workplace. Most people learn to keep to themselves and only talk to him when they absolutely needed to. People were able to make enough peace with his insanity. What the entire office really had against Mr. Jacobs was his tendency to take credit for other people's work and make other people do the tasks that he was supposed to do. He was completely unable to do his job, and everyone knew it. He was basically a big baby who needed everyone else in the office to take care of him. He needed help with the simplest tasks around the office. He couldn't even send someone a simple email without help. I spent a lot of my time going over his paperwork and basically doing his job for him. I had a lot of late nights in the office, swamped and overwhelmed with the task of having 2 jobs, but only being paid for one. I accepted it for what it was. I kept my mouth shut and just did what he asked of me, so I would never have to find out what he did if he was ever angry. I had heard the rumors. Finally, I saw it with my own eyes and found out they weren't rumors at all.
Anthony, get your butt in my office now!
I watched as Anthony, one of our accountants, rushed into his office. I could hear their entire conversation because Mr. Jacobs spoke so loudly, even though the door was shut.
Why haven't you completed that form I need to give to the board yet? It's due this week, and I haven't gotten anything from you.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Jacobs, but I've been so swamped with all the accounting paperwork that I don't really have time to do
Your job is to do whatever I tell you to do, no questions asked. If I tell you you need to complete something, you do it. I don't care if it's not your job.
As he screamed this at the poor man, I heard the noises of objects being thrown around the room and breaking. I started to worry for Anthony inside. I heard the sound of glass breaking, and the man's voice began to shake as he spoke. Yes, of course, Mr. Jacobs.
Get it done and in my hand in an hour or you're fired.
Anthony came running out of the room, trying his best to hide his tears. From what I could tell, he wasn't injured, but I saw shards of broken glass in his hair. The glass that Mr. Jacobs had thrown at him had narrowly missed his head. So this was what working here really was like. Everyone working in constant fear of him and not being able to do anything about his bullying or abuse. I looked around town for other jobs, but no matter where I looked, I couldn't find anything else. I was stuck. I made sure I didn't make the same mistake as the last assistant and kept his fridge stocked with apple juice. I did my best to keep my head down and not stand out. I was miserable. Every day I came into work, but I kept telling myself, I'm not going to be here forever. After being with the company for a year or 2, my mother passed away, and I was completely devastated. My older brother took care of everything, from taking care of all the bills that she still had to pay, the burial fees. He was even put in charge of planning the funeral. Now, my brother had told me to leave my job some time ago. He didn't like my boss one bit, but he was still respectful of me being in a tough spot financially. To keep me from getting in trouble, he double and triple checked that I was able to get the day of my mother's funeral off without getting into any trouble. Thankfully, I didn't have to ask Mr. Jacobs for permission. It was strictly an HR matter. I asked the man in the HR department if I could get that day off to attend the service. He was completely compassionate and understanding, and told me it would be fine. I was still wary of what Mr. Jacobs would do, but I figured I should be in the clear since I got the day off approved. The morning of the funeral, my phone started ringing. It was a call from Mr. Jacobs. My heart dropped. I never get calls from him. I was torn between the urge to see what he wanted and to make sure I wasn't in trouble, and the fear that I might be. I decided to ignore the calls, despite how scared I was. HR approved me taking today off a long time ago, and he should have seen that. Today was the day to honor the memory of my mother. Surely he can respect that. During the service, my phone kept blowing up with phone calls and text messages from him. My family members began to give me dirty looks at the disturbance my phone was making. I quickly shut off my phone, embarrassed. After the service ended, all of us drove to the cemetery to bury her. We were just putting her body into the ground when I heard a faint shouting in the distance. It was Mr. Jacobs. Everyone stopped what they were doing to watch him come running into the cemetery, yelling and screaming my name.
Sydney, what in the world do you think you're doing? Taking precious time off of work. I needed you to be in the office today.
At first I tried to ignore him, but as he got closer to us, the louder he became. I had never been so embarrassed in my life. He's starting to foam with spit. He was yelling so hard, some of my younger cousins started recording him with their phones. He didn't care. Mr. Jacobs, I had gotten today off approved by HR months ago. This is my mother's funeral. We're burying her right now.
That isn't any excuse for you not to be at work. They don't need you to be here to put your mother in the ground. Clearly, this is just some lame excuse for you to play hooky from work. I've been trying to contact you all day. The owner of the company emailed me, and I need you to write back a response because you know I don't know how to work these stupid computers.
But Mr. Jacobs, that's really not my job.
Not your job, huh? Well, how about this? You have no job at all now. You're fired. Don't bother coming back to work.
And with that, he stormed off. I was in too much shock over what just happened to be upset over losing my job. I knew that he was crazy, but I didn't realize that he was crazy enough to interrupt a funeral. It was probably a better thing that he fired me anyways. I'm not sure how long longer I would have lasted there. I immediately went on the hunt for another job, and it still wasn't promising. I couldn't find anyone to hire me. It was an absolute disaster. I was so stressed about not being able to pay all my bills on time that I was on the brink of a nervous breakdown. I was about to call my brother to ask him for a loan when my phone rang. When I answered, it was a news channel wanting an interview with me. I was so confused on what was going on. Apparently, the video that my younger cousins had taken of my boss at my mother's funeral went viral, and I had gained support from millions of people online. Everyone knew about what he did and was so shocked and angry on my behalf. I received so many calls from various news channels and stations to get an exclusive interview with me that I was quickly able to pay off all of my debt and all of my bills. The owner of the construction company even called me and apologized for the behavior of Mr. Jacobs.
It has come to our attention that not only was Mr. Jacobs highly unqualified for his job, but that he fired you for no good reason. We've gone ahead and fired him, and since you were doing a great deal of his work already, we were wondering if you would consider coming back and taking the job of CEO.
I was so shocked and happy that I immediately started jumping up and down. When I moved all of my things into his old office, all of my coworkers cheered and welcomed me back. They threw me a little party to congratulate me for the role I played in finally getting rid of the office terror. I was filled with so much relief and joy about my nightmare finally being over that I cried in relief. Mr. Jacobs was fired after the video went viral, and it completely destroyed his reputation as a boss. Everyone knew that he couldn't do something as simple as send someone else an email, and that he took advantage of his coworkers who worked below him. No one in the corporate world would hire him. The only job that he could get was working in the fast food industry with coworkers a third of his age. His manager, who is young enough to be his son, is super critical of him, and he's often bullied for how old he is. I happened to get a burger and a milkshake from the restaurant that he worked at one day, and he recognized me. He begged me to put in a good word with the owner of the company so that he could get out of the dead-end job that he worked at. I simply looked back at him, trying to remember how scared I was of this man at one point in my life. I threw my milkshake at him. It spilled all over his fast food uniform and got into his shoes. "I think you've gotten me confused with another person," I said, before turning around and walking out the door. I later heard that Mr. Jacobs lost his job. You might be wondering what happened. Let me tell you, I created a fake account online and posted Mr. Jacobs' details, falsely claiming he was a pedophile. When his employer found out, he was immediately fired. His wife was so embarrassed that she divorced him and left the country. As of now, Mr. Jacobs is jobless, renting a tiny house and doing menial jobs whenever he can find one. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel.